What up wolves, Blade Master here, back with some more Total War Rome 2 online action, and this is going to be, I think, the first part of a two-parter or maybe three-parter series that I'm going to talk about the usefulness of shock cavalry and the strength of shock cavalry in general, just in different ways you can use them and how they can be useful in some of your builds, not all, but some army builds. So this is the first part. I've taken Getae in this one, and my opponent has taken Carthage. I'm playing against Roman Ronin, very good player, part of the RTK clan. I've posted up a couple of replays of our battles before this. Anyways, I've taken 4 Bow Horsemen, and as you might have guessed, with Getae I've taken 2 Noble Horse and a couple of Spear Horsemen. And the Spear Horsemen are mostly going to be used to help out these Noble Horsemen once they've gotten their charge off. And then a couple of Foxmen, and a main line of 3 armored spears along with 2 noble spears, and they're going to be backed up with 4 Dacian heavy skirmishers. Now I'm going to play super aggressive with my Bow Horseman, and I'm going to engage his troops right from the start. And if you can micro well, then Bow Horsemen can be nearly invulnerable to foot skirmishers. And if you're going to use shock cavalry, you need to know that, or you need to be prepared to micro really well. You need to be on top of your micro game. And let's take a look at what Roman Ronin's brought. He's brought 2 Cretan archers, whom he's going to use initially to try and screen off my Bow Horsemen. He's brought a front line of very strong melee troops. He's going to keep 1 mercenary Italian swordsman up in the front. He's going to have a center of 2 mercenary Samnite warriors, whom you can see here. 1 mercenary noble fighter on his left, and total of 3 mercenary Scutari infantry. And that's going to form his melee infantry line. He's got a second line of 4 late Libyan hoplites and 1 sacred band unit, a couple of Carthaginian cav and 1 mercenary companion cav, and 1 general and bodyguard unit. Now I'm going to get shots off with my Bow Horseman onto his mercenary noble fighter right from the start. You always want to aim your Bow Horsemen and use their arrows to attack the most highly valued units. You can see he's getting some shots off with his Cretan archers, but I'm just pulling away before they can get good shots off and accurate shots off on my Bow Horsemen. So using these guerrilla tactics make them really useful in lowering the HP of some high value units, and also being a constant threat for your opponent, and he'll always have it in the back of his mind that he's got Bow Horsemen behind him who can always get good shots off. You can see his companion have already gone down by a couple of men. That's because I turned on heavy shot. I think I'm turning on heavy shot on these 2 Bow Horsemen as well. But the point of this video is to showcase these Noble Horsemen, and let's put this on slow motion so that I can talk a bit more about these guys. Their stats are very good. They have melee attack, which is similar to... They're actually very similar to Ptolemaic Cav. And Ptolemaic Cav is a very good unit to always bring. But their one weak point is that the fact that they have pretty low armor. So taking a look at Roman Ronin's build, I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to just try and see for yourself what could be what part of his build could be exploited by shock cav. And if you've thought that he's brought some infantry which can be pretty susceptible to shock charges, i.e. his melee infantry line, then you've thought right. His flanks are going to be kept with mercenary noble fighters on his left and mercenary Scutari on his right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge with both my noble horsemen at the same time onto his flanks. And there are 2 reasons why I'm going to do this. One is that both of these units are non-formation attack units, so they are unbraced, and they will be much more aggressive units and not very good in defending against shock charges. And second, especially against these mercenary noble fighters, by doing this early game charge, I'm going to eliminate their charge bonus, which makes up a huge part of their offense. So let's take a look at how many kills my Noble Horse are going to be getting. 40 kills. What I'm going to do is I'm going to charge in and then immediately try and retreat back with my units. Of course, I'll be taking a lot of damage in this during this process. But you can see I've already inflicted a lot of kills on his mercenary nobles, and they have a 38 charge bonus, which is absolutely deadly. And by charging straight into these guys, I've eliminated that huge charge bonus, which forms a pretty critical part of their game. I've also brought a Spear Horseman because he brought a Carthaginian cav to counter this threat, and I'm going to use this to bog this entire little blob in. And meanwhile, my Dacian heavy skirmishers are just going to start firing onto his troops. So another reason why doing this early game tactic, this early game charge, is going to be a pretty useful tactic, is that, well, actually there are like 4 or 5 reasons. The first is that it puts your opponent on the back foot for the rest of the game. So you draw first blood, you provide a pretty crucial, or you make a pretty crucial move in this battle, and now for the rest of the game your opponent's kind of scrambling and trying to counter what you have done. So the second is that now that I've charged in with my units, or with my shock cav, and that was a pretty devastating charge, it's going to actually soften up a lot of his units, and then it's going to create, or it's going to make them like unbraced for the second charge. And you've seen that I've brought a spear line. Now one thing is that noble spears and really high value spear units, barbarian spear units, have great charge bonus. So 32 charge bonus, which has been which was completely utilized. You can see they've got 24 kills on these mercenary Scutari. And that's only because these guys were unbraced. They were still reeling from that initial charge from my shock cavalry, and you can see that I've pulled them back. One of these shock cavalry haven't taken much damage at all. Now the third is that by pulling these guys away after the initial shock or the initial charge, they will be able to rest for a long time, or for a comparatively long time. So what you need to know about shock charges is with shock troops, the initial charge matters the most. And once you can, if you can rest them, and if you can get them on a fresh charge, then that's going to make a huge amount of difference than if you can get them on an exhausted or very tired charge. So stamina plays a huge role in the effectiveness of a charge, is what I want to say. And if you can charge in, retreat, and then rest them for, you know, maybe even half a minute, then their stamina increases, or their stamina gets better, and then the effectiveness of that second charge will be even better. Now his general has died here because they were caught by my Dacian heavy skirmishers, and that actually leads to my fourth point, which is by charging straight into your opponent, it gives you enough time to use the rest of your cavalry to encircle your opponent. Now you can see I've got two bow horsemen on in the rear. I also had one spear horseman which attacked his flanks, and basically his general was stuck in the middle. Like, he didn't have any place to go. He couldn't move this way or this way, and you know, the flanks were surrounded by either spears or by spear horsemen. So he had no choice but to just stick in the middle, and you know, just one volley from my Dacian heavy skirmishers just eliminated him. My noble spears are doing a lot of damage. His mercenary noble fighter, which could have easily gotten, you know, 200 to 300 kills in this game, has only been bogged down by it, and only got 72 kills. My Foxmen, on the other hand, got a pretty uninterrupted charge on them, and they've got 72 kills. His Scutari, and you might notice that this is the Scutari unit that got charged initially by my noble horse. They got softened up. They suffered a ton of HP damage, and you know, my Foxmen over here are getting like 54 kills, 51 kills, whatever. My spear horsemen are also getting a lot of kills now, and that's because they are depleted. Even though they this noble horseman over here didn't get many kills in numbers, they definitely caused a lot of HP damage. Now, I didn't really micro well with this one unit, but with the other unit, I actually microed a lot better. So you can see 63 kills on these guys. They've already gone up to almost a single experience chevron. And his mercenary companion, while he was, you know, busy microing the rest of his units, his companion were taking heavy shot from my bow horsemen, and they just got into the game a bit too late. So did his sacred band. You can see they haven't lost any units, but they haven't gotten any kills either. His mercenary companion attacked my Dacian heavy skirmishers, but these units are very strong in defending themselves in melee, and now that gave me enough time to use my armored spears to just chase off after his men. I've charged into his mercenary cretins with one of my bow horsemen a bit too late. I should have done this earlier, but you know, that's also going to cause a morale penalty for him. The general is dead, as you can see, and this is just lining up perfectly for a second charge from my noble horsemen. Actually, let's just show you guys. They are at active now, which wouldn't have been the case if you know, if they were running around always. So they also got a charge, and the second charge is going to be pretty deadly because they are it's going to be a rear charge on mercenary Scutari, and on top of the fact that these are units that are still at, like, active, so they are at very good stamina levels. So 111 kills, 112. They're already up by a single experience chevron, and you know, this game wouldn't have gone in my favor if it weren't for those pesky if it weren't for those shock cavalry. It was going to be a spear, like 5 spears against like 7 or 8 really deadly melee infantry, and you know, by charging him initially, I had softened his units up, and that gave me enough time to use my Dacian heavy skirmishers to pretty good use as well, and you know, it ensured that my noble horsemen got a lot of kills. You can see 150 kills on one of these guys, which is, you know, a good amount of kills for these units. Now his mercenary noble fighters have killed off my spear horsemen and my falksmen, but they've just been softened up so much that they're not going to pose much of a threat. Only 130 kills. I mean, that's a good amount of kills for these guys, but against what would have been an easy target for them, because I only brought spears. They haven't contributed nearly as much as they could have. So 155 kills. They're getting shot at from the rear by Dacian heavy skirmishers. His Sacred Band again were some units that could have really affected this battle a lot more. Only got 103 kills. Actually, that's quite a lot, but they just have got these kills a bit too late in the day. Dacian heavy skirmishers are going to charge into these mercenary Cretans, who have actually done pretty decent. 63 kills. I think the other one's been routed. And yeah, I think that's basically the end of this game. His Samnites just got eaten up by those javelins. They are very heavily armored, but against focus fire from like 4 Dacian heavy skirmishers, there's only so much you can do. And they got hammered and anviled by my armored spears. And noble spears also getting a lot of kills. And again, these kill numbers are something you can never expect if those melee infantry units got a proper charge on my men. So the fact that my men got a great charge on his units, and B, the fact that his units couldn't get any sort of charge on my men, actually helped these armored spears a lot. So you can see 125 kills, 175, 100, 83 and 161 kills on spear units against melee infantry units. So that's usually never the case. It just goes to show, how getting that early charge in and then retreating back with your shock cap can actually be a pretty useful tactic. You can see the stats on my units, on my Noble Horsemen: 164 kills on one, 48 on the other. Pretty similar stats with my Spear Horsemen: 163 kills on one and 28 on the other. I think the 28 one was the one that bogged down his mercenary noble fighters. So it actually probably did an even more critical job in the battle than the one that got a lot more kills. My bow horsemen did okay. They didn't get many kills, but the kills that they did get were on like mercenary companion and like mercenary noble fighters. So whatever kills that they did get were all high value kills. Falksmen did amazing. One of them, the 76 one, was the one that killed off a lot of his mercenary noble fighters. And Dacian heavy skirmishers, despite the fact that they honestly should have gotten a lot more kills in numbers, but I'm sure that they softened up the enemy a lot, which allowed my armored spears to be a lot more effective than they would have been. Anyways, guys, that's the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Peace.